Hi, I'm Marcia Perry with Youth Arts Collective, and this is another one of our video series for doing art demos for you guys. And we want to share these with students as well as adults that are interested in learning different mediums. And today the subject matter is flowers, and I've always been so attracted to flowers artistically. They've taught me more about color, also design, and the geometry of flowers is just fantastic. And just like when you stare up at the night sky, the longer you look, the more you see. The same thing with a flower. If you look at a flower for a long time, you just keep seeing more and more detail. So today we have videos about making flowers in pastel, in acrylic paint, in ceramic, and in watercolor and pen and ink, and a wax resist, crayon resist, and watercolor flower. And those demos will be following. Amanda Cuzenza did a wonderful pastel painting with lupins for you all, and Raven Cook did 2 paintings of sunflowers in acrylic, and then Ciela Diffenbaugh did a pen and ink and watercolor flower. And so those videos are included in this. And I did one in ceramic. I built a flower out of ceramic, out of clay, and also a watercolor and crayon drawing of a flower. So I hope you enjoy these, and when you're out and about, just keep looking for flowers, and look for a long time, because the longer you look, the more you'll see. We're so happy to have YAC open again, but we expect to continue to doing these videos for classrooms and for you to work with things at home. So I hope you enjoy.
Hi, I'm Amanda. I'm going to be showing you how I draw flowers with pastels. So I'm using chalk pastels in this velvet board, but you can also use the textured pastel paper as well. I like the velvet a lot because the colors really set into it nicely and it's really smooth. I'm going to be drawing some lupins. I think they're just really unique looking flowers and they're a lot of fun to draw. So I have just a rough outline laid out, so I have a general idea of how I want to draw them, and then I'm going to go in with the darkest parts of the petals first and leave some space to fill them in with lighter colors. And I'm making them pretty close together because I like them to look really full. So now I'm going with a different shade of violet, and then a lighter pink for the tips of the petals, and then a tiny hint of blue. And so now I'm just filling in some grass and leaves and adding highlights. And then finishing with a gradient sky, because those are always really fun, especially with pastels. So yeah, these are my lupins. It was really quick to draw, and you can have a lot of fun with like the different shades of blues and purples that you use.
Hi everyone, it's Raven, and I'm going to show you how I painted these 2 sunflower paintings for my boss. This first one is an acrylic painting, and I started by painting the entire board blue as an underpainting to sketch on top of. I did this because it's a little less intimidating for me to start drawing on an already painted surface than trying to draw on a stark white surface. After I have the design lightly sketched, I start laying down some color. I'm trying to get as much color on the board as possible so it'll be easier for me to refine and sharpen the edges later on. I usually always paint back to front, so I'll try to finish everything in the background first and then work my way up. For the flowers, I paint a whole bunch of translucent petal layers to build depth, then I darken and shade the petals furthest away, and I brighten and highlight the petals closest to the foreground, making the flowers look more dimensional. I also take the same color brown that I use for the center of the flower and extend that color in between petals to make the flower stand out more and to make it look like the flower petals are attached to the center of the flower. This painting was a commission from one of my bosses. She really loves sunflowers and she owns a local Baskin-Robbins store, so she wanted me to merge the two together. And this is how it came out. I love it a lot and she does too. This painting is a gouache painting. Gouache is right in the middle of watercolors and acrylic paint. It's not as translucent as watercolor and it's not as vibrant and plasticky as acrylic. I really enjoyed working with it a lot. This was my first time using it. Gouache has a very velvety feel and dries matte. I painted this for my boss for Mother's Day, and it's painted on a folded piece of watercolor paper, making it a card. My coworkers and I signed it and gave it to her the morning of. I approached this piece the same way as the last one, painted the background first, working my way up. And here's the finished piece.
I decided to do a flower out of ceramic to show you all, and I first started with 2 forms that you saw in the very beginning, and then I cut out some templates for the petals themselves out of paper, and those are what I used to make the petals. So I made, I think, about 18 petals for this particular piece, and then I made a whole bunch of squiggly swirlies and put them on the top for the center of the flower, and then I started attaching the petals themselves. When you attach the petals, you want to score and slip, and you want them to be kind of leather hard, not super floppy, but also certainly not dried enough that they're going to crack. So you kind of want them leather hard. You can always spray them with a little water to get them more flexible. So as you put them on the flower, you use slip, which is watered down clay, and score, meaning you roughen up the surface that you're attaching to. So you just keep going round and round and shaping the petals as you go. They are fragile, so it's easy, to break them. But, clay is actually one of the most forgiving mediums, because if it doesn't work, you just squish it and start again. And so that's one of the things that makes it so much fun. You can kind of squish something into reality, and you want to kind of attach it and also attach it to the petals above it in order for it to be more stable, because these things are fragile. I kept telling my Meg, my partner, that I'm just really interested in making heavy, fragile things these days. I'm not quite sure why, but I just really enjoy it. It's a really fun kind of clay. Is a very therapeutic medium, I find, and you can just kind of make whatever you want. There's a lot of kind of drawing involved, actually, when you're making clay, and you put a lot of different skills to work. And over the last year of the pandemic, I've been more interested in doing 3D work than I have in 2D work for some reason. And so I've done a lot of sculpture during this time, enjoying it very, very much. And in the samples of the flowers that we've been showing you in the video, there's a lot of samples of my paintings that I've used flowers for. And this flower, I don't think there's really a flower that exists that looks like this, so I'm taking a lot of artistic license of creating a whole new species of flower, but it's kind of fun. And this will actually be, there's a bowl that it fits into, so it's going to be kind of a vessel that once it's fired, hopefully successfully, it can be used, on a shelf to put things in, or just a sculpture, but it also has kind of some functionality. So as you can see, you just kind of keep squishing it together. So every petal has to be kind of secured. Little longer than sometimes it takes a few tries, so just be patient with yourself. I'm not sure if you have the chance to work with clay, but if it's attractive to you, you should figure out ways to do it, because it really is, it's a very fun medium. Again, securing the petal to the next petal is a good thing to do. And then sometimes you have to prop things up. You can use cotton, like batting, to just stick between things as they're drying in order for it to keep its shape so it doesn't get too floppy. So this is basically the finished flower that I did, and I will fire it and then I'll glaze it with glaze. Now the piece has been fired successfully, which is always a really great relief that it hasn't blown up for one reason or another. And I like applying glaze with airbrush. I've been an airbrush artist most of my life, and I find it a great way to add glaze. So as you see, this is unfired right now. I've used several colors that I thought would work with this, and then as soon as it's all done, I'll get it in the kiln and I'll show you the finished product. And I use, when I'm airbrushing, I'll use paper sometimes to shield so that the color doesn't get onto the parts I don't want it on. And so now this is the finished product, a flower in porcelain.
Hi everyone, my name is Ciela, and I am going to teach you how to draw a yellow rose. I have been at YAC for 2 years now, or almost 2 years, and I primarily do botanical illustration, but also scientific illustration in general. So flowers mean something really special to me because I feel like I've always grown up around them. My mom wrote a book called The Language of Flowers, so they've always had sort of like a personal resonance with me. Yellow roses actually mean jealousy and decrease of love. And yeah, so whenever I draw a flower, I look into its meaning, I look into something about the science with them, just so I get to really know the flower. Yeah, I can't wait for you to see my video, and I hope it helps.
this is a fun project you can do at home using crayons and any types of watercolor. I'm drawing with the crayon. I'm looking at the rose, and I know I'm using a white crayon on white paper, but what you can see is the crayon will resist the watercolor and keep the drawing kind of intact. So I just keep adding watercolor, and I also add a little bit more crayon that again will resist the watercolor, and I just keep adding more watercolor. There we go. It's a fun project to do. You can use crayons to resist watercolor in all kinds of drawings. Of course, we're doing flowers right now, but I'm just adding a little more watercolor to bring up the color that I want. And there you have it. It's a pretty fast, fun project. I hope you'll check back in with us and see what else we're doing. The best place to find us is online at YACstudios.org. That's YACstudios.org. We've got lots going on. We've got an upcoming summer show, as well as a wonderful auction that's going to be at the end of July. And please let us know if you like these videos. It would be wonderful to get some comments. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.